Hello and welcome to episode 62 of A Tonic for Lunacy. And today I am feeling a little petty. Feeling petty, might delete later, probably not. Um, Haha, it's all fun and games until you recognize that one of your biggest gifts in life is what people hate about you most sometimes. And I feel like if I had intro music, like this would be the time for it. When like the host says something like astounding or interesting or provoking. And then there's like the music because stay tuned. This is what we're going to talk about today. So stay tuned. This is what we're going to talk about today. So I'm just going to come out and say it because that's what we do on this podcast. We are real, we are raw, we are honest. My last podcast behind the scenes hopefully gave you some insight into my business, and let me give you some insights into my personal life. Why not? So I recently had a friend of a friend technically, let me know that our other friend essentially did not want to be friends with me anymore because, and I quote, I would not lie to her. End quote. If your face is looking like mine is right now, you are probably confused, as was I. So I've done a lot of thinking about this over the past few weeks. Actually, it's been months, really, since I've noticed a change in the relationship. And being an undefined solar plexus, we know that it can be difficult for us to have hard conversations with people. But I did it. I did it months ago when I first felt the discomfort in the friendship. I was assured that everything was fine, blah, blah, blah. Now, let me premise this by saying, you guys, I know that I am honest. I know that I am blunt. I know that I am not for everyone. But if you are my friend, you've been around the block with me. You know how I be. And most of my friends really like this about me. And it's something that I really admire and honor in another person is honesty, because we have everyone. 99% of the world is lying to you constantly. TV, social media, ads, marketing, the lady at the grocery store, the food that you're eating is lying to you. The gym, right? Like our parents, our friends, our loved ones, everybody lies to us. I guess I can't say everybody, right? But most people, can we say, are probably telling lies here and there to not hurt our feelings, or because they are projecting their own woundings, or because they don't like confrontation. Think about it, 50% of the population has an undefined solar plexus. So that means 50% of the population is probably lying. I guess I can't say 50%, but those in the not self of the solar plexus are likely lying in order to not have those difficult conversations. Now, the more that we are wounded and the less that we are willing to heal ourselves, the more that we are going to people please, the more that we are going to lie and avoid these conversations. So, what happened with this person in my life is that she is very insecure. And I know this about her. So, something that I had been consciously working on is my tone, right? The way that I say things, to make sure that they are not hurtful in the way that I say it. But there is, and I think this is kind of where I am in my life in general. I have done so much work on figuring out who I am and stepping into that person as unapologetically as possible. And those of you that have done it know that that is not for the faint heart. That means you're going to take a lot of rejection. That means you're going to face abandonment. That means you're going to have to face a lot of fear. That means shit's not always going to go your way, but you just have to trust. You have to trust yourself. So I've done a lot of that work. Obviously, this is how, this podcast came to be. This is how my business came to be. And being honest, it's so funny to me to say it out loud, right? Like, I would pay big old money for people to be honest with me, right? Like somebody that I admire, somebody that I can say, oh my gosh, what they have is so cool, what they have achieved is so great. Like I would love for them to be honest with me and tell me what they see. Tell me what they think my blind spots are. Tell me, whatever, just their insights, their advice, their perspective. I honor people that can be honest like that. And unfortunately, a lot of people cannot. So to kind of sum up this situation that I'm talking about specifically, this person had gaslit me for months about what the issue in the relationship was. And it wasn't until an additional third party um, kind of spilled the beans that I figured out what this was about, that I figured out that this was about me not willing to placate her, me not willing to lie to her, me not willing to be just like everybody else in her life and tell her what she wants to hear. Because I think that if you know the truth, or if I can be honest with you with my truth, then we can work together and figure out and what changes you need to make if you want to make changes, right? I'm not saying that my truth is the truth, right? It's subjective, but I am saying that there is truth to my truth. I'm saying that there's a reason why people pay me for my truth. And I was really hurt by this, right? I was really hurt by this because she was a good friend and she was someone that I consciously tried to be sensitive towards, with while still being true to me, because I'm not gonna lie to you. I won't do it. So it was really hurtful. And I think what hurt the most was that you would rather, well, one, the gaslighting, the invalidating someone's intuition is probably the worst thing that you can do to them. And we do this a lot to kids. We do this a lot to kids when, we're fighting with a spouse and they come in and they're like, oh my God, what are you guys fighting about? What's happening? And we say, oh, nothing, nothing, everything is fine. Right? We do this a lot to kids. And over time, invalidating someone's intuition causes them to not trust themselves. Invalidating someone's trauma causes them to not trust themselves. Now, I am stronger, and obviously I'm a trust myself, because when I know something's up, right? Feeling cognition. But also, we all have that intuition. So, a lot of the work that I do with women is, when did we stop trusting ourselves? When did we stop trusting what our bodies were telling us? When did we begin to have this fight, this disconnect between body and mind? And I've seen this come up several times in several different shadow docs in the past few weeks of, I don't trust my body. My body has let me down. But also, your body has been let down. Your intuition has been let down by the people around you, because people will lie to you to make you manipulate, to make you feel a certain way, to make themselves feel a certain way, for whatever reason. So doing the work that I do, I pride myself on not lying to you. And okay, let me go back to the story. The reason why this was so hurtful to me was that I've spent my most of my life, right? We can say up until 30, until I started figuring shit out, being someone that I was not. I remember distinctly in seventh, eighth, ninth grade, maybe, one of my friends telling me, we don't talk like that in America. You can't just tell people whatever you think. You can't tell them the truth. And I don't remember very much, but I remember that. And I remember how she said it. I remember who it was. And I remember thinking, shit, I gotta, I gotta switch the way that I think. And I stopped doing that. I stopped being honest. I started being more secretive. I started, showing the face that everybody wanted to see, what made people comfortable, what made people comfortable. And even now when I'm talking about this, like it feels emotional. It feels like there is still a gaping hole there. Maybe not a gaping hole, but it's still a wound, right? It still feels fresh. And I think that that is why I was hurt so badly by this situation was I spent my entire life not knowing who I was and being something that would make everybody else feel comfortable about. And now that I am confident in myself and I truly do love myself and I'm doing this work and most of my friends enjoy my honesty. It's not meant to be mean, it's meant to be real. I can't imagine that somebody, a friend, would tell me be less because, and this was the third person's exact words were, it's just too much for her. She's too insecure. Can you just like be less? And you can imagine that I almost flipped the table. I was like, be less? I'm sorry. What? I have not worked this hard in my fucking life to be less for someone else, to be comfortable in their insecurity. Yeah, no, thank you. No, thank you. And it occurred to me, in the weeks, days following when I was deep in this, just trying to understand how somebody could even say that. It occurred to me, one, that certain people, when it's time for them to go, it's okay for them to go. I've raised my standards around what I'm willing to accept, and this has been a long time in the making. I think there's a podcast episode from last year where I talk about belonging and fitting in, and that was when I started playing around with these standards. But the point of this episode is really this, what I figured out is your greatest gift, I think, I think your greatest gift in this world is truly that thing that makes other people uncomfortable, that makes the wrong people uncomfortable. And that's kind of almost like a barometer that we have to know, is this person willing to get to know me? Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to grow with me? Or do I just trigger them? And if I trigger you, that's okay. That's totally okay. You go be you somewhere else. But I don't need to change who I am to not trigger somebody else. So this reminds me of the unconscious Mars that we talk about as our shadow genius. And I have an entire episode about it. But our unconscious Mars is essentially our greatest shadow. It's also generational trauma, but it's also our greatest genius. It's a shadow genius. So mine is gate 14, which is the shadow is compromise. I will or will not compromise who I am. And at the end of the day, what I learned from this is, one, I will not fucking compromise who I am because I've gone too far. I've worked too hard. I've been in the trenches. I've had this dark night of the soul that fucking lasted years, right? Like, why would I go back to being less when the being more is what actually empowers people, right? Like, I'm not here to be less. I'm not here to play a small game. I'm here to play a big game. And that's going to trigger people. And that's going to make other people feel uncomfortable and make them feel insecure. And it is my goal that everybody says, whoever is in contact with me says, hey, this makes me feel insecure. How can we work through this? And I am fucking there for that, right? Like, how can we increase that insecurity, or make it less, whatever? How do we increase our confidence? But also, how do I don't want to say change my tone, but how do I stay flexible in the way that I communicate? Because I know that sometimes my tone is a little aggressive. So that is something that I consciously work on. And then I've also had a few people come up through HDSS, which is the Human Design Shadow for Self-Healing program, during shadow docs, feeling triggered by the things that I say. And again, I want everyone to know that I will challenge you. Like, I don't ever claim to be a love and light, nicey, I will tell you what you want to hear coach. That's not who I am. And that's not what you're going to get. And that's not what you want, right? Because that's how you stay the same. So I will challenge you. It will be uncomfortable. You are going to have to look at some shit, and it might feel gross to you, and you're going to blame it on me. And you know what? I'm okay with that, because when you're in my container and we are holding you, I'm okay with you being mad at me, because I know that in a few weeks, when you can get over that and stop being mad and start looking at it the way that I see it, you might be like, okay, she's on to something. And I might not be 100% right. I might not be. And I'm okay with being wrong. But if you can see it from that perspective, you unlock a whole new door in your subconscious mind. You unlock a whole new perspective in your life that leads to a shift in consciousness, a quantum leap in reality. And that is my greatest gift. That is my greatest strength. That is my shadow genius, is that I will not compromise my voice. I will not compromise my insights, my knowledge, my perspective, what I see. I don't mind being wrong. I really, really don't. You can ask anyone that knows me. Like, if you're in the shadow doc and you're, girl, you are off, that is cool. That's fine. Let's look at it another perspective. But something is there, and don't tell me it's not. My point is that if you want to find your greatest gift, obviously look at your shadow genius, and I'll link it to that podcast. But look at where you trigger people, and trigger people not in terms of like you being a dick or like you being a jerk or an asshole, but where do you make people uncomfortable? Do they tell you you're too much? Is it because you're emotional? Is it because you talk too much? Is it because you're too loud? Is it because you have too much energy? Is it because of the way you dress? Is it because of the colors that you wear? Whatever. What is it about you that triggers other people? What do they tell you? So recognizing what this gift is and how can we use it? How can we use it to your advantage? Because that's what you are here to do. And then how do we release this need to please everyone? Because you will not be for everyone. And when you start to realize that and it starts to show up, that's when you know that you're, for the lack of a better word, I'll use this one, up leveling, right? Because you start to notice that people are dropping off, and I'm not going to tell you it doesn't hurt. Like, I'm sitting here and it hurts, because this is someone I've been friends with for years and years. So yeah, it hurts, but you know that I'm going somewhere different, and it's okay if you don't want to come with me, but I'm not going to stop, because I have shit to do, and I have shit to do with all of you. So if you're like me and you're like, I would pay for someone to just be honest with me about what they see in my blind spots, or what they see in my subconscious mind, or what they see in my chart in terms of sabotage patterns or toxic cycles. I just want someone to be honest with me. Tell me what you see. You found your girl, because I will tell you what I see, and I will call you out. I will call you out on your bullshit. And that's what makes our programs different from others, because a lot of people will not call you out on it because they want you to like them. I don't care if you like me. I don't. Did you notice something different about yourself? Did you make a change? Did you have that tough conversation? Did you crack a code yet? If you're paying attention, you did. If you're paying attention, you did. I had someone recently say in her shadow doc, I asked her to take an action. We had spent weeks going around and around and around in circles, and that's fine, right? That's fine, because there are things that need to be released here, and there's things that need to be understood, and that's okay. I'm not mad about it, but we got to the point where I was like, listen, girlfriend, you got to make a move. Either you make a move or you don't, but we cannot keep going around in these circles. So make your move, because once you take action, once you make that move, now we have data, now we have information, and now we can move on to the next level. And she came back a little bit later and said she was really triggered by that. She came back and said, oh, I can't because of this, that, and the other thing, whatever. I called her out on it. And she came back saying that triggered her. It triggered her because, and she said this, it triggered her because she knew she had been caught. She knew she had been caught in her excuses, and that people weren't going to let her keep getting away with it. And that's the bar that we hold you to in HDSS and HDST. That's the bar I want you to be at. I want you to stop fucking around with your excuses, because you're never going to get what you want if you keep making excuses for your excuses, right? Make excuses for your dreams, not your resistance. And listen, there's a reason why my programs are 3K and up, because I hit resistance with people. I hit walls with people. And it takes a lot of my energy to be like, nope, we're still here. We're still going. I'm not giving up on you. You're pushing back hard, but I'm not giving up on you. We got this. We are moving and we are going to get somewhere. Of course, once in a while it happens where, they don't do the work, and then there's not much I can do there. But if you're ready to be pushed, I've got 2 great programs coming up for you. In September, we have HDSS, which is shadow healing for yourself. Yes, we will use the body graph, but we're going to focus more on shadow docs, on coaching, on getting to the root of your issues, making your unconscious conscious, so that we can take a different approach, so we can make a change. It goes really, really deep, but you will see progress if you do the work, right? If you do the work. And I am honest with you, and I do hold you to a higher bar. I hold you to a higher standard when you enter our containers. I don't hold your hand. If you drop off and don't talk to me anymore, I will probably follow up and be like, hey girl, where are you? But I'm not going to chase you. You have to want it, and you have to be ready. And this is I swear, like, I wish I had people that would just tell it to me like it is. Like, just be frank, just be honest, just be blunt, just tell me what it is. And then there's no question in my mind, there's no fluff, there's no vagueness. And you get that with us. So HDSS starts in the fall, it starts in September. It's very limited. I will post the sales page link. You do need to have some understanding of human design. It does make it helpful, but not as much as if you go into HDST. And HDST is business. It's human design shadow for business, where I teach you how to do this work specifically, and how to put it into your business, how to incorporate it into your business. But we start off by working on ourselves. It's just not as deep personally as HDSS. HDSS is just me, just my soul, just my heart. What's my shadow genius? What are my traumas? What are my woundings? Let's heal, let's work through it. Whereas HDST is show me how to look at my shit so I can help other people look at their shit. And incorporate this work into my business. So they are two different programs. HDSS is 12 weeks. HDSD, I think we're up to 16. And then how many weeks is 16? I don't know. I think it's like 4 months of HDSD and then an extra 2 months of the mastermind that you get after that. So both of those are starting in fall. HDSS is in September and HDSD is in October. We have applications that are open. I do have discounts that are running just for the month of July that we are almost past. So if that's something you're interested in, please DM me, please email me, and I will get you that. I will post both of the links. And thank you for listening to my TED Talk today about friendships. But also, I want to remind you that the way that you challenge others is one of your greatest assets. And just because you might feel like you are too much for somebody else, you are more than enough, just enough, perfect for the right person. And we hope that you join our HDS family because we love you here. I hope this was helpful. I will see you next time. Bye bye.